For the Montreal Canadiens, the offseason is here and decisions have to be made. The draft lottery, the actual draft, and the free agent frenzy are fast approaching. Which Montreal Canadiens players will still be wearing a Habs uniform next season and which ones won't? Here's what I think. Hey everybody, I'm Rick. Welcome to Talking Habs, where you get your daily fix of Bleu Blanc Rouge. So it's that time of year again when we try to figure out which Montreal Canadiens players will stay and which Montreal Canadiens players will go. For some of them, it's pretty easy to figure that out. For some others, it's not. So what I've got in this video is I've got all the UFAs, the RFAs, and there's a possible buyout, and who I think might go in a trade and who I think might not go in a trade. So let's get started right away. And we have one retiring player, so that's a very easy guy to figure out, and that's Paul Byron. Paul Byron, without saying he's retiring, he has pretty much said that he's retiring. He's hoping to get a position with the Habs in development, I believe it is, and definitely, I mean, he's retiring. So Paul Byron will not be here next year. I doubt he signs anywhere else. Sean Monahan, guy that we were hoping to get a first-round pick for, got injured, wasn't able to come back from the injury because he got re-injured, a different injury while he was rehabbing. Sean Monahan, maybe. I mean, I think there's a chance that if he's willing to sign for, a really low amount, possibly they sign him for 1 year, and then hopefully they can do what they weren't able to do this year and trade him at the deadline for a really good pick. And that's a very big possibility, but I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think he's going to be going. And this is an obvious one. Jonathan Drouin, he is a UFA. And I think there is zero chance that Montreal re-signs Jonathan Drouin. He will get a job. I do believe he'll get a job somewhere in the NHL. He is still an offensive player, he's a good playmaker and all that. And that's always going to get, a player's going to get a job somewhere. And I don't know what team, but somebody's going to sign him. It's not going to be Montreal. So Jonathan Drouin definitely gone. Chris Tierney was picked up on waivers near the end of the season because of injuries, and they needed them. He did an adequate job, but I don't think any more than adequate. He's making league minimum. I don't see why Montreal would need to sign him. He's a center, and if things go right, I don't see why they need to sign him, and I don't expect him to be coming back. Next up, and this one, I'm not sure, Alex Belzile. When he finally got a call up and got a really good look and got some, an extended period here in Montreal, actually played a lot better than I would have thought. But he is 31, I think. I don't know if Montreal needs to sign him because of depth. It's not a knock on him. He is what he is. I don't think there's any, but I don't think he comes back. Next up is Mike Hoffman. Mike Hoffman has 1 year left on his contract. So why would he not be here next year? There's apparently no trade value for Mike Hoffman. That's what I've read many times from people in the know. So how did they get rid of him? Well, it turns out Mike Hoffman is actually a serious buyout option. Kent Hughes recently just said that there's potentially a buyout. And if you look at his numbers, and I have that here for the buyout, I think it makes a lot of sense for Montreal to buy out Mike Hoffman. So against the cap, so if they buy him out against the cap this season coming up, 23-24, it's only $1.166 million. Again, that's not a big hit from his $4.5 million in cap that it would have been if he stays here. And then the season following, they still have to pay him $1.666 million. That goes against the cap. That's an easy price to pay to. I don't want to really say get rid of a problem, but an underperforming veteran when you need that spot for a younger player to come in. Joel Edmondson, I think by trade. because he's got one season left on his contract at 3.5 million. I think that if they can find a partner for him, and even at a bit of a loss, I would think that they need to move the contract. That they've got too many veteran defensemen in the three, and I think David Savard's going to stay, and there's without a doubt Mike Matheson is going to stay. So I think they're going to try to trade Edmondson, and I think they will be able to. It depends on what they want in return, right? And I think at this point, it's almost you almost give away the contract if you have to. Christian Dvorak at his 4.45 million. I believe he's got 2 seasons. Now, if the Habs get a center at the draft, or even if this PLD talk happens and they make a trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois, I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, Christian Dvorak is definitely, is an extra center that I don't think they need. And if you can move him and get some assets back for him, that's what I think they're going to do. Maybe if they're making the trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's involved in that and he goes the other way. But I don't think Christian Dvorak will be here next season. That'll be via trade. Now, there's some players in the minors that are UFA or RFA, and there's one I think might get traded. So here's a quick list of those guys, and we'll got Corey Sheneman, who is I think he's 27. He's a defenseman, UFA. I don't see why they need to sign Corey Sheneman because they do have guys from junior now coming up that are going to play in Laval, and I don't see why they'd need him, and I don't think they're going to sign him. Matthias Norlinder, defenseman. I thought last offseason they were going to trade him. I think if they make some deals in the offseason, I think Norlinder has become an extra because he's a little bit farther down on the depth chart now with this influx of pretty good defensemen that have hit the NHL already. I don't see, maybe they keep him around in Laval, but Norlinder might have some trade value. Otto Leskinen, he's a defenseman. He's a UFA, and I don't see any room for Leskinen. He hasn't been able to break the lineup at all. And I don't think they're going to re-sign him. Joel Teasdale, I'm kind of not sure about this one. He's a forward. He had some injury problems for 2 seasons. His development is kind of set back that way. He's an RFA, so they have some control. But with all the young talent that's coming in from the last couple of drafts, I don't know. I kind of have a feeling since Teasdale didn't really wow them when he came up at the end of the season, I could see him going or not, just not giving him a qualifying offer. Now, on to the guys that I think are going to stay. And there's a few more of those than on the go side. So for RFAs, these are RFAs that Habs have control over, but if they don't offer them qualifying offers, then, they're free agents and they can leave. So we'll see what you think of that. First one up for that for me is newly acquired Denis Gurianov. I think Gurianov, he had some flashes for a few games there. He was putting up goals, but then it kind of fell off again, back to the what you saw in Dallas. But problem is his contract was $2.9 million. You got to give him that as a qualifying offer. I don't know. I think that's too high. But if he is willing to sign, say, for 2 or 3 seasons at a much lower AAV, I could see keeping Gurianov around. He's got some potential, got size, got a great shot. And, while you're rebuilding, you need wingers like that. So, yeah, I think he's going to stay. Mike Pezzetta, making $750,000 league minimum. I think there's a role for Pezzetta. You need some tougher guys. He's willing to stand up for his teammates, not scared to do that. And you know what? On the fourth line, I think that's a perfect role for him. He performs well with the right line mates and gives you what you expect from a fourth liner. I like Mike Pezzetta, and I like his character, and I think a team kind of needs that. So if there's room for him, and I do think there might be next year, Mike Pezzetta stays. That's a no-brainer. Cole Caulfield. I know we're all worried about the contract and it hasn't come out yet, but I mean, Cole Caulfield's not going anywhere. If you buy into any of those trade things you see on like Twitter and places like that, don't. Cole Caulfield not going anywhere. Enough said. Jesse Ulinen. I got it right this time. So Ulinen, I'm not sure that he showed enough to just say Ulinen will be on the NHL team next season. But if he has a good camp, I definitely think he will be. He showed it in flashes. He was okay. Wasn't great, but he wasn't bad either, I thought. And Ulinen should be ready for next season. And I think they hang on to him because he's got some good potential. They got a couple of seasons to find that out. And he's an RFA, so they can control that, sign him to a bridge contract. I think Ulinen stays. Next guy for me is an absolute no-brainer. He stays. Raphael Harvey Pinard, he's not a superstar. You could trade him, but you know what? I think you need guys like that to win. You need, especially for the Quebec-born players, to see this guy's determination and drive and playing for the crest and not affected by the pressure from, being a Quebec-born player. I think you need that here, and I love this kid. How do you not love him? We love Brendan Gallagher. This guy is just a little bit better at Brendan Gallagher. So, yeah, Harvey Pinard stays. These guys, I don't think will get traded, but there's talk about it. I'll explain why I don't think. Jake Allen. Jake Allen, yeah, I think the Habs could trade him if they feel strongly about Montembeault being the number one. You can find a backup, especially when you're rebuilding. It's not that important. He's going to be making almost $4 million. But, I don't know. I think the veteran presence there for Montembeault going forward would be a huge benefit to Sam, to Monty. And I think he stays because he's the right kind of team guy. He's a real team guy. Players love him. And, he ain't that bad. So I think Jake Allen stays. Another one of these no-brainers, Kirby Dach. There's talk about trading Kirby Dach to Winnipeg for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Makes absolutely zero sense to me, and it's not going to happen. Kirby Dach is an emerging potential superstar player, second-line center, maybe a first-line center. Dominant, puck-controlling guy, like a puck. He controls the puck when he's on the ice, and he is also plays a physical game now. And I think he's just going to be a great player. I don't think Montreal's trading him anywhere. So anybody worried about that? Kirby Dach not going anywhere. Next up is Brendan Gallagher. Montreal, if they could trade his contract, I think they do it like that. But can you? 4 years left at $6.5 million. I don't want to be disrespectful, but a broken down Brendan Gallagher, can he stay in the lineup or not? I don't think you're able to trade him. The only way you'll trade him is to a team that has cap space and is looking for adding something to that you might not want to give away. Brendan Gallagher, I don't see for the next couple of seasons anyway how you can trade him. Brendan Gallagher stays. Josh Anderson. I think Josh Anderson stays. I think the team really likes him. I think at 28, under this coaching staff, Marty St. Louis is bringing out more in Anderson. There's more to his game. He's still growing. He's a power forward, skates like the wind, stands up for the other guys on his team and fights, and plays a physical game. I'm not trading Josh Anderson, and I don't think the Habs are either. Yoel Armia. Another one of those guys that if Montreal could trade him, they'd do it in a heartbeat. If they could buy him out, I think they would, but his money is too big, and it's for 2 seasons, and that's not really, I don't think it's feasible when you can buy out Mike Hoffman and quickly get rid of that contract. Armia's Armia, frustrating. I like the guy, but he's frustrating, and he's probably going to play out his contract because I don't think there's any interest in him, but I don't think he goes anywhere. And now we've got the guys in the minors that are UFA. Do I have it? Yeah, UFA and one RFA that I think stay, and they don't go. Frederick Allard, who they picked up, I think on the waiver wire, he's a defenseman. He's a UFA. He's from Quebec. He's depth, and I think they keep him around. Nicolas Baudin, same thing. He's a French guy that has a little bit of experience. He's an RFA, so you can control what you're paying him. He's a defenseman. I think he stays in Laval, and he's depth. Anthony Richard, he's a UFA. He's a Quebec-born player. Got some potential. And even if he stays in Laval, he was leading the Laval Rockets. And I think Anthony Richard is going to get re-signed here in Montreal or with the organization. And that is it. That's who I think stays and who I think goes in this offseason. And of course, there's going to be stuff that who could have thought of probably that's happening. I don't expect any free agent signings. I just expect moves to help them grow and move forward in their rebuild. And anyways, that's it. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section. So it is that time of year when okay, I'll start that over. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Till next time, stay safe out there. Peace out, and I'll see you soon. Ciao, everybody.